Um, Sorry, I ended up having to stop for a minute because I gave my son um, a Bible study um, assignment, and he couldn't remember where I told him to go in the Bible. Um, but yeah, back to what I was saying. Like I said, I had done these videos, and they wouldn't load. And I know that I wanted to talk about um, marriage and abandonment and all that comes with the baggage that comes with adoption, and how we choose to be in relationships, the partners that we choose, how we show up in the relationships, the whole 9 yards. um but again, they wouldn't post, or I didn't even have room on my phone to be able to try to get it to post. Whatever it was, there was always something. It was always something. I'm gonna make this quick because I'm running on a time schedule today, and I want to be able to honor that. And that's something that's new as well. Not that I don't honor time, but we'll get there in a second. Um, my marriage has been going through a very, very rough patch. Um, we have been married almost 8 years, and I would say probably 7 of the 8 years have been rough. And it would be easy for me to be able to put most of it on my husband. External circumstances, we've had a lot of loss, mostly on his side of the family, but I've lost a few family members as well. And the reality is, like, we've known each other forever. He was my best friend in college, one of the first people that I met when I transferred to the University of Delaware. So we have a background and a friendship and history that is a lot different than most people. And I can speak for myself. I had gotten to a place where I just felt like um maybe weren't called to be together. Maybe we got together based upon, like, it was a trauma response or connection. We were both getting out of relationships where it wasn't serving us and wasn't the right fit. We both had children that we wanted to be able to raise a certain way, but there was a lot of other things that were involved, and obviously other people. um and so in our space of friendship, we really just kind of leaned on each other and then, like, fell into a relationship. um Unfortunately, not as intentional as I think that we probably should have been. So after we had our son, um a lot of things adoption wise started to come up. I went as far as to try to start getting some more information about my birth family, because my oldest son was asking questions, and that brought on some very hard conversations, and resulted in a relinquishment of relationship with my mother, my adopted mother, for those of you who are trying to figure out, like, so who's she talking about? When I say my mother, that's my mother. And during that time, like, we were already going through it. Like, I was starting to become, like, in the thick of postpartum depression. And it was just, I don't know, mentally, it was a very wild time. And I don't make excuses for anything. But also, as a doula, I am very aware and sensitive to how hormones, um, the physiology of birth, and how giving birth changes a woman. And every single child that you have changes you, not only biologically, but mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole nine yards. And if we're not taken care of in that space where we are allowed to figure out who we are now and grieve and understand that the person that we were while we were pregnant or even before the pregnancy is not who we are now, and then really try to figure out who this new version of me is, it tends to be chaotic, and it can be pretty bad. So add that on top of adoption trauma, some abandonment issues, like I said, eventually relinquishment of relationship with my mom and um I was a hot mess. Like a hot mess. And I remember one time, trying to urge my husband to do some work and let's go to counseling and this, that, and the third. And he was just like, I don't have any problems. You're the problem. You go get some help. And so I did. And in that time, I realized that I was unintentionally bleeding on people that didn't cause me to bleed. I was also managing emotions and people's feelings that was not my responsibility. And I was carrying on to a pain that had me showing up in a way that ultimately to me is not becoming of who I am, but was real to emotionally where I was. I urge adoptees fully to find an adoption competent therapist, one that understands from our point of view, doesn't glorify adoption or even trivialize how we experience it, because that's a very huge part of how we can be able to heal. I will also say that if you are married to someone who was adopted and hasn't either looked for family, but still has some things to grow from, heal from. I mean, we all have our things, but I think it's also important to be the partner who knows how to show up for someone when they're going through something that they don't even necessarily always have the words for. And I feel like that's where my husband fell short, but he didn't know where to go get help. He didn't know how to ask for help, because I also didn't know how to ask for it or even verbalize what it was that I needed. So I had to go get it for myself. And it was very hard as I was unpacking a lot of other traumas on top of my adoption trauma, to try to explain to him the things that were going on, why I had to handle things a certain way, what was going on, why sometimes I would be just so drained and heavy, have no space for anything else after certain sessions. And I think that support for your partner, for me, for my husband, would have probably made the difference as to the trajectory of our marriage over the last couple of years. But I say all that to say, and this is for the adoptees, there is a level of forgiveness and grace that the same way that we want it, we have to be able to give our partners. Because people who have not experienced what we've experienced the level of abandonment that we've experienced, the questions, the self-doubt, the lack of self-esteem, the very dangerous ways that sometimes we react and choose to do things. It affects others. It affects our children. I can go back to when a lot of this all started and started coming up. And I remember I would, like, when I say I was so angry, I was so angry, like really angry, like enraged. And I realized that anytime anybody would honestly say something to me, there was a harshness, not only in my voice, but a coldness in my heart that for me, or for us, we would say is protection, but it's not received that way. And just the same as we are very sensitive and we want to be received a certain way, or people, like I said, to give us grace, we also have to realize how we come off and how we're received. And that could be the difference in relationships, parenting, marriages, whatever the case may be, even in business. I'm thankful for the people that I'm around right now, the people who have poured into me. I'm even thankful for the space that I've had from my mother, because I wouldn't have been able to grow in this space if she were in it. That's not to say that I don't miss her presence. That doesn't mean that I don't grieve the relationship that could have been. But at the same time, I'm thankful that I have been able to make these changes, make this growth, come into the woman that I am. If it hadn't have been for that absence, if it hadn't have been for the harsh, you need to go to therapy type of deal. Not to say again that my husband didn't or doesn't need to go to therapy, but at the same time, I needed to get what I needed to get to work on what I needed to work on at that time. So I will wrap this up here, but I will say it is necessary to find this space and the right kind of therapist to be able to walk through all that has been done or decisions that were made for you, so that you can stop, one, carrying it, two, having that as part of your identity, and three, be able to come out on the other side so that the beautiful person that you were not only created to be, but who's underneath a lot of that grief and anger and sadness and abandonment gets to be able to shine through. The world needs you. God sees you. Our community needs you as well. And your partner deserves the best version of you, just like you deserve the best version of your partner. Partners, I urge you to find the grace, find ways to hold space. There's going to be a whole lot of forgiveness, a whole lot of crying, a whole lot of heaviness. And sometimes it may be too much. And that's why I say you too, go to therapy. One, for yourself, so that you can learn skills that allow your emotional intelligence to grow. But two, dive into, how do I hold space specifically for this? You know what I mean? If your spouse was diagnosed with cancer, you would do everything that you would need to in order to research what's going on, what are the treatments, what are the trials, all the things. Treat this like that. We deserve a different level of support. And we are now in a space where, although separated, that's not where either one of us want to stay. And as I continue in my relationship with God and I continue to just work on, one, the type of woman that God has called me to be, but two, what my calling as a wife is, um, there are some things that I have to be able to let down or lay down. There are some things I have to forgive. And there's a space that I have to come in so that I can be able to show up as not only my best version of me for myself and for my kids, but also for my husband. Um, and so I've had to apologize even for things that I didn't do intentionally, but may have, for him, broken how he shows up for me. Um, and I am thankful for his graciousness. And I am praying for God to just continue to move in whatever way he sees fit as far as our relationship. But for me, it was important for me to not only forgive how I felt like he's added to my abandonment, or even I perceived him not showing up and loving me in the ways that I felt like I needed to, but weren't necessarily, not always his, I guess, not necessarily his fault or his responsibility to come to the table with, but also apologize for how I've shown up and how I bled on him in times where he wasn't the one who cut me, but yet I tried to make him feel responsible for it. So I hope this helps somebody, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys again soon.